Here's a quick video on looping in Rekordbox. It's a little bit different than Serato DJ. Let's talk about it. Using Rekordbox 5.0.2 in performance mode with a DDJ SX2 controller. First things first, whenever working with loops in programs like Serato, Rekordbox, or anything else, everything pretty much starts with accurate beat grids. So I know that beat grids are kind of a touchy subject with a lot of DJs, but in all honesty, if you really want to have the best experience in working with loops, you're going to want to make sure that you analyze your tracks and that your beat grids are accurate. It all starts there. Just kidding. Looping live. Looping live in Rekordbox DJ is pretty much the same as Serato DJ, so if you're coming from that, it's not going to take a whole lot of explanation. Most Pioneer controllers come with something like this, and they all work pretty much the same in whatever software you use. So you get your in and out points, in, out, and it loops. And you see it sets the loop. Pressing this button turns the loop off, and the loop is off. Now, here is where the beat amount is displayed for your auto looping, and just like with Serato DJ and other software, you can use your beat to either go to 4, 2, 1, or half. Those are usually the most common ones. 4-beat loop right there. 4-beat loop is set. Press it again. Loop turns off. Like I said, it's a lot like everything else. Doesn't need a whole lot of explanation. One cool feature in Rekordbox DJ that is in Serato DJ but doesn't work quite as well is being able to set up a hot loop. Once your auto loop is running here, you can just tap one of your performance pads, and now you set up a loop that also is able to be triggered like a cue point. Pretty handy if you're into beat juggling the loop or extending the break and things like that. Like I said, that's in Serato DJ too, but doesn't quite work as well. That works really, really well. If you're just in the software and not using a controller and you want to switch from the auto loop to the manual loop, you just do that by sliding this guy left or right. There's your manual and there's your auto, and there you can change the loop amount by half or ×2. Loop preparation. To fully understand how to prepare, store, and recall loops in Rekordbox, it requires a little bit of a backstory on the Rekordbox application itself. So let's start there. When Rekordbox was first released, it was an export-only application for use with older Pioneer hardware. And back when things like cue points and loops were really a new feature, Pioneer's original use of this was in something called the memory cue banks. Now, since the advent of hot cues, the memory cue has actually sort of become obsolete for cue points in general, but the memory cue is still where Pioneer DJ stores and is able to recall the loops. So hot cues have sort of replaced cue points for how Rekordbox is used for cue points, but the older memory cue portion is now pretty much used for looping. So my guess is that at some point Pioneer is going to rename that to memory loop or looping, but for now it's still called memory cue. And to get there, you click on this drop down menu and you go to memory cue. So you're home preparing, you got a loop that you want to save. What you do is once you're in the memory cue, you go ahead and click on memory, and you see that it pops up and you've got a little yellow arrow that means that it is recognized as a loop, and that is how you save one. Let's go ahead and save a few of them. So I've got a few memory loops saved, and you can see that they are memory loops by having these red markers above them. And you can also see that they are listed right here. Something worth remembering if you were to set a loop earlier in the track, say you've got a few of these set, but then you realize in the beginning of the track you wanted to set a loop. Once you hit memory on that particular loop, you'll see that it's actually added to the beginning. That's why the memory button is kind of sort of generic looking, and these are not listed by number. It's just always going to be chronological, so it's always going to work its way from left to right. Once you have all of your loops marked, you could jump to the individual loops by pressing the parameter 1 arrows left and right, and that'll jump to the different loops. To correct the ins and out points of a loop, what you do is press in and then use your jog wheel to adjust it right to the point that you want. You press in again and press out, and you can make your adjustment right there. Out. And that is how you make the manual adjustment of a loop. Works a lot better than Serato DJ. If you're getting close to one of your memory loops and you want to activate it, what you do is you press Shift and Auto Loop, and you'll see that now there's a little red line underneath that marker, and what that means is that once it reaches that point, the loop is going to automatically activate. And you can also see that in the memory queue, that loop is actually turned red as opposed to yellow. You'll see, boom, it automatically activates once it reaches that point in the track. Rekordbox will also remember which loop you want to auto-activate. So say you know that this is the one that you want to auto-activate. What's that? Loop number 2. Let's do loop number 3, loop number 4. You can see that it draws the red line underneath there. It'll save that. So when you come back to that track later in the mix, it'll already know that number 4 is the one that's going to automatically activate it, and you could read that in the track by seeing the red marker and the line underneath it. That will tell you that once it reaches that point in the track, your active loop is going to happen. To remove a loop from the memory queue, you just click on the X and that loop is gone. So that's how loops work in Rekordbox, both live and in preparation. A lot of stuff similar to other software. Some stuff is a little bit different, and some stuff is totally exclusive to Rekordbox. All in all, I enjoy the flexibility and I'm really loving this app. Till the next one.